Hello, hello. Welcome to the Get at Gaming Plus podcast. I am Alex.
I'm Ben.
And today we have a special guest here today, a developer. First time we've ever really had a guest in the games industry. So we're very excited about this. We have Sam here. Hello, Sam.
Hi guys, Ben, Alex, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to have you here. Today we're going to talk mostly about Sam's new game that's coming out here soon. First game even, which is really exciting here. But before we get into all of that, just want to kind of go through the rigmarole here. This is the Get at Gaming Plus podcast. You can find us on any sort of podcast service you like, whether that's Spotify or iTunes, Pandora. We're on like pretty much everything. If you just look somewhere, we're probably there. If we're not there, go yell at them, go complain, go mail a letter to your congressman or whatever, and just be like, we demand a letter, right? Get at Gaming. We need them on Podbean or whatever. I actually think we're on Podbean.
We're on Podbean.
Okay, cool. But if you would rather look at us instead, because you want to see all of our beautiful faces, you can go over to youtube.com/getatgaming, where you can see the podcast live, or not live. I mean, you guys sometimes live, with video, new high definition video. It's not VHS, I swear. Yeah, you can see us there, where we also have some other things that are exclusive to YouTube. We have some recent reviews for some games there, as well as sometimes back when E3 was a thing, we used to react to certain things. So yeah, you can definitely check us out there. But again, this episode is about Sam. Sam, again, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
We would kind of just get into it a little bit. Could you please tell us a little about yourself? Just your life, your everything that makes you you. Why'd you want to go into game development? So many things, but yeah, if you just want to take it away.
I can certainly take it away. So thank you again, guys. My name is Sam. I am a solo developer at my company Soliloquy Games. I am based in Brisbane, Australia. And gosh, I am working on my first game, which will be coming out Q4 this year, called Wren's Resurgence. And that is actually what we're speaking on today. I've loved games since I was very, very young. I started on the Sega Master System, the inbuilt game on that, Alex the Kid, was my jam for a very, very, very long time. Very fond memories of that first level. I'm not sure if you guys played Alex the Kid.
Yeah, I have a Master System and a bunch of 30 games for it still. I have a Master System just around here. Yeah.
If you ever whip it out and have a play, that first level, incredible. You basically jumping down a mountain, and you get down towards the water, and I'd never get past the first probably 10 seconds of the water level. But for years, that first level, it set up a passion for me for the rest of my life. So I do owe that game, and I've loved games ever since I first started playing that. Myself, in my game development journey, kind of started for me a few years ago, when COVID kicked off. It was a pretty traumatic time for everyone, but for me specifically, I had a newborn. My wife was in hospital giving birth, in labor, when the first COVID patient in our hospital was a couple of stories below us. So it kind of was a real shake-up for us. It was a very trying period. And through that whole process and being locked down and stuck at home, I found what I believe is going to be my passion for the remainder of my life, which is game development. And from that, years later, I'm here.
Cool.
That's awesome. I think when COVID hit, a lot of people found new things with themselves, and then you found, you got into game development, so that's really, really awesome. So just for some of the people at home, can you walk us through like the basic premise, storyline for the game that you're working on? That's your first game.
Sure. So Wren's Resurgence is about Wren and her struggle to essentially rescue her sister. It's a 2D pixel art action platformer. She is fighting through this Japanese-inspired landscape that is infested with a yokai threat, a monster-based enemy, and she's got to try and cut her way through to find the only remaining part of her family that she knows of, her sister Swan. Lots of different exciting things happen on the way. Lots of story stuff that I can't get too in depth to, but she gets different weapons, she gets different upgrades, and you kind of weave your path to the big bad, which is very exciting, to say the least, for me at least.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, kind of another question here for you. So what inspired you to create a 2D action platformer as your first game, as well as like a follow-up to that as well? For game development's sake, did you think of, oh, I want to do a 2D action platformer first, or did you think of the story first? Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg for that sort of situation?
Like most budding game developers, I started my journey thinking I would make Skyrim. Open world, choices, consequences, changing environments, hundreds of lines of dialogue, different enemies that do different. And I had one of those harsh reality checks that I was not good enough to do it. And through this whole process, I landed on side-scrolling platformers, believing that was going to be the easier route. I still don't know if that's the case. For me, it's worked out quite well. I've got a really nice feeling platformer now, and it's been tricky to say the least. But what kicked it off is I thought it was going to be the easiest way to get into it. But there is so much involved in any genre of game design. So there's tiers of learning and growing and everything. And years later, I think I've got a pretty good product in Wren Resurgence. It feels pretty great to play. Which at the end of it is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before Alex and I were talking about making like a get out of gaming game, right, in like 8-bit style, and then I looked into like how this comes about and how you do the programming, and then I said no, thank you, because I mean I want to do it eventually, but the amount of time and effort and to make it what it is crazy. And like with your game and the stuff that we've had the privilege of looking at some of the stuff from the press kit, it's it's pretty amazing what you've done with it. I mean, we're both excited to play that. One thing that I was thinking of asking was like the overall like art and like aesthetic of the game. What inspired all of that?
That is a good question, because art is all interpretation of inspiration. You know, like it's very tricky to do something new. And being that I am fresh, this is my first game. It is what inspired the art was it came from me jumping in, because really that's all you can do at this early stage. Is I had to learn everything, so I had to um, learn everything. So pixel art is the stylized, or the art form I decided to go down. Again, I thought that was going to be the easy route. My father is an artist. He's an oil paints on canvas man, and he's incredible. Very, very talented individual. And somewhere along the way, me growing, I missed that. I didn't capture that skill set. So I just kind of started. I just started. So pixel art, like any other art form, is there's layers, and there's tiers of skill level in it. And I knew I needed a character. I started with Wren. I made my first enemy, which is no longer in the game because the art for it was not good. I made my first level, which was the abandoned city, which has gone through many iterations over the last few years as I've been developing it. And it's just, as the skill improves, as the coding improves, the visuals improve, and I believe it's at a point now that it does have its own distinct characteristics, and I think it is a pretty good looking game.
Yeah.
But like everything, I've come back to that level many times and had to redo stuff, and there comes a point where redoing stuff for the 10th time, there needs to be like a cutoff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I want to kind of this is your first game, so I see where you're coming from on that. I think one thing that before we ask a question, one thing that we had several talks before is you're into comics, you're obviously into games, so I think that helps out with when you're doing a game like this, of like that. I know for a fact that when we talk to people all the time about their passions and what they do, something they're super passionate about or something they're working on, it takes a long time because you want it to be perfect. You want it to be great. I you saying this now, looking at some of the things we looked at, I wouldn't have seen anything crazy like oh, I didn't like this or I didn't like that. So I liked everything I saw. I know Alex and I were talking about it earlier.
Man, I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. It is one of those. It's one of those. Nothing's ever perfect, and it's a harsh reality that you have to face at some point. You just have to go, and I could redo the whole game, and I believe it would be beneficial in the long term, but it is. I'm very happy with it. It is almost as you play through the levels. I nearly made them in sequential order. There's 10 levels in the game, all very distinctively, artistically different, and you can see the progression of the skills as you're going through the game, which is also I think kind of fun as well, because you can see the skill levels change, and the skill and the art grow with the levels. Some of them were really bad, so I've had to go back, like the example of that and the abandoned city. That's been redone a few times, being that it was the first one. It was I was basically just throwing paint, pixel art style, and pretending that it was a building. So it, I am glad that you guys find it aesthetically pleasing to look at. I hope.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I hope others will.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I always gravitate towards pixel art style games, and when I saw your game first, when we saw it, I was immediately in love with the art style and just the direction, and it's one of those things that feels like it just flows very well. Like pixel art, like when it's done right, it flows very well. It looks very fluid, and seeing the movements and stuff that we've seen in trailers and other sort of press release things, like I'm very excited to see more of it. So
I really appreciate that. I am an amateur when it comes to pixel art. It might not come off like that in the game. People that know pixel art will go, "Oof, that was an interesting idea," or there's a strange concept. Color theory is a big part of it, making something look nice and making it work. And I only figured that out probably about 2 years, or not that I even say I figured that out, but I only started to understand that it was so important. It was integral to making something aesthetically pleasing to look at. That the colors had to be right. So we're all growing, we're all learning all the time. And I am pleased that it doesn't look terrible.
it definitely doesn't look terrible for sure. Yeah. But getting in with the aesthetic and just other things like that, were there any specific games or developers that really influenced or inspired your work? I know you talked about a little bit about like Alex Kidd and things like that, but like were there other like more contemporary, like recent things that inspired you to be like, all right, I saw, just say example, this doesn't have to actually be your thing, but let's say I saw Shovel Knight and I really love this aesthetic, and so I want to do a platformer because Shovel Knight and pixelized art, like it looks great, I want to do this. Like, are there things like that that really inspired you like recently?
That's a great example of a beautiful game, pixel art done right. It is there's been a lot of things that inspired me over the years. I had my boy, and subsequently have had another child, another boy, which has taken up a lot of my time. The time that used to be spare for playing games is now, bringing joy to other people's worlds. So I have fallen off from playing a lot of the stuff that I used to play, and a lot of the things that I would love to play. But Hollow Knight was a big inspiration for me in terms of just a pleasurable game to look at, a pleasurable game to play. I'm not very good at Hollow Knight.
Neither am I. Don't worry.
You're in the same company.
It is. I've played that game, or I've tried to start playing that game and get good. 20 times, and I fall short, and I get frustrated, and then I have to stop because I can't dedicate 10 hours to figure out how to get good at it. But that was a big part of it for me, was Hollow Knight. The gameplay is fantastic. The art style and everything was amazing. It's made in the same engine that I've made Wren's Resurgence in. And then just the community and the backing behind that game is incredible. The people are so dedicated to it. I imagine because of its how great it is to play and how hard it is, and yet that you have to get good, and you can relate with other people that have played, that it's really hard and everyone's struggled, and you grow together. But that was a big inspiration for me. Same with Celeste, another.
Yes.
It's a beautiful pixel art game.
It's one of my most recent favorite games.
It just feels so great to play. And again, people gravitate to it because it feels so nice, because it's made with love. And the guys that made it are shining examples of what devs should try and do, which is just make great feeling games. And so that was another inspiration for me. I'd love for Wren's Resurgence to be as anywhere near as smooth as what Celeste is. So that was kind of my guiding light in terms of platforming. And then probably one of the most important games that I played in early 2020, when I was had a newborn at home and couldn't go anywhere and had to kind of reevaluate where I was at in life, is a game called RFL, 16-bit turn-based battles, just beautiful pixel art. And in playing that, I was probably disillusioned at the time, but I remember having a moment when I was late in the game, and I loved it. It was a beautiful game to me. The aesthetics were beautiful. The way it was made, everything put together, struck a chord in me that I might be able to make it. Now, I don't think I could make RFL now, looking back at it, but I had in my head, look, I could do this. Pixels can't be that hard to put together. Turn-based stuff is pretty simple. It doesn't have to be dynamic or anything. You just have to come up with the systems in place to make it work. So I had in my head that I could possibly make something because of RFL, and that was and I remember it. I remember the moment sitting on the end of my bed, playing it and going, maybe I should give this a go. So that is probably the most important game that I've played, maybe in my life, I'll be honest, because it really opened my eyes to this world. You know, I've always loved games, always played them, but that is the one that, you know, flicked that switch in me.
Well, I personally had not heard of that game until just now, so I wonder if I play that game, maybe I'll have the same feelings, you know? maybe I'll try to take a swing at game development, right?
It's a tricky one. I say, oh, I can make this. It's not as a slight to the game,
for sure.
Because it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's inspiring. It's beautiful. Yeah.
And there is beauty to the simplicity of you can't make something simple and great to play unless it's made well. And the game was great. So that's what I strive for.
Cool. And I think we all have, like, you know, you talked about a couple games there. There's always that one game that really just kind of gets you, and then that's kind of where, you know, you begin with things. I always say this, and then Alex just shakes his head, but mine was like Final Fantasy X.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I worked at Blockbuster, and I had just got a PS2, and I'd never played a role playing game ever. Like, I never have. And so I rented it, and I was like, I remember renting it, and, you know, this is in my youth with no kids, you know, staying up till whatever, and then going to work the next morning early. I played the entire night, and I was like, I've never done that, you know? And so I get where you're coming from with that game thing there. I always bring that game up, and Alex is like, that game is not that good. But for me, you know, it is.
Yeah.
We actually are, one of our friends that streams had been playing it. And she said it. I don't know if you saw the tweet, Alex, but she said that game is actually pretty good.
Listen,
we got a lot of heat.
Listen, I just bought those games on PS2, 10 and 10.2, because I've heard like the art style and all that's a little bit different in the HD remasters versus the regular. And so I was like, you know what? Fine. Maybe I will stream these on my PS2 someday. So, you know, someday, you know, maybe I can be re-enlightened and realize that I do like Tidus and Waka and all these people. I'm more of a Kingdom Hearts person for PS2 era.
Okay.
I love Kingdom Hearts. I own all of them in Japanese as well. That's one of my other things. But yeah, no. Maybe someday, Ben. Maybe someday I'll play
Maybe
Final Fantasy
someday.
10. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
always
well,
always
I think Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. That
Yeah.
was my Final Fantasy. That was my game in that franchise, and I did the same. I just
yeah.
played that until I wasn't allowed to sit in front of the TV anymore, and then I would sneak out at night and continue to play it until I had to wake up and get ready to go to school. It was I was much the same for those games.
Oh
I
yeah.
forgot that was even a thing until you started talking about it. Um, I somehow missed Final Fantasy VII, which
Yeah.
is a strange one because I'm not sure if you guys what platforms you guys played on when you were younger. Obviously, I had the Mega Drive to start with, but
Mm-hmm.
I got the PlayStation and have subsequently owned all of them since then. Um, but I missed number 7, and it's got such a cult following and such a big. I played it with the
Yeah.
with the remasters at times 3 speed,
Mm-hmm.
um, pre the new ones coming out, and I get it, but yeah, 8 for me, huge.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I think we all have like that one, there. And this is the first time that Alex hasn't made fun of me for saying it. So this is great. It's already a great day.
Not
So
today. Maybe someday.
not today. It'll be after, like, maybe
Yeah.
later. He'll text me. So with you making a game, was there any like
Yes.
specific like software or tools that you use to help develop this game?
So I began my development journey in lockdown, um, very tired, and just with a passion just to try and get in and just start doing something.
Hmm.
Um, from what I could find, I jumped on Unity. Unity is free,
Oh, nice.
so anybody can jump on and download the free version of Unity and just start figuring out what they want to do and how they want to do it. So I went down that road. Um, they have Visual Studio, which is the software that is kind of the inbuilt default coding
Mm-hmm.
software that comes with Unity. So I went down that road. So I learned how to code through Visual Studio, and then the only bit of software I had to pay for my game, at least to start with. Unity does cost when you want to start developing for consoles, or if you want the support and the backup of the Unity crew, then you do have to pay for the upper tier of it. But is a pixel art um, bit of software called Bright, and that
Hmm.
is fantastic. It is purely for pixel art. It makes it very easy to um, create layers and create new animations and everything through, and you just save it into Unity, and then you can cut those sprites up in Unity and make animations, and that's what I do with the majority of my time, and that's what the last few years have really been about, as trying to make that unity between those 3
Hmm.
bits of software produce something that is enjoyable to play and pretty to
That's
look at.
That's awesome. My 16-year-old is pretty tech savvy, and he was
Mm-hmm.
using Unity to make like animations and stuff. He's my artist in the family. He's very good artist. So the fact you're using that plus other things, I mean, using the resources those resources is pretty cool. Uh, I know when you look, there's been a lot of games produced or made majority with Unity nowadays. I mean, it just seems it's like a lot.
It is free, which I think is a big part of it. Um,
Hmm.
it is. I mean, Unreal Engine is
Mm-hmm.
the other obvious one to go for. I mean, there's Game Maker, and there is a few other um, obvious options out there, but
Mhm.
Unity has worked well for me. They had a few issues recently with changing up a lot about how their back end works, and there was a lot of feedback and kickback on them on that. And I think there was a lot of hate on them for that for some time. Luckily, my game hadn't made any revenue, so I had no skin in the game for that side of things. But other than that little hiccup, I think everything with Unity is going pretty well. Anybody looking is to have a go on it, I wouldn't steer them away from it.
That's awesome.
What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during the development process of your game?
So the whole process is a challenge.
Yeah, obviously.
I came from not knowing anything about game development to figuring out how the engine works, coding, pixel art. Everything has its challenges, and there's challenges within those challenges to figure out how you're going to do it, how you're going to tell that story, how you're going to emphasize certain aspects of it. The biggest challenge for me was maintaining the dedication towards the cause, if that makes sense. I knew in me that I am going to make games moving forward. That's what I want to do, and I had to maintain that passion, and I had to fight against the challenge of just giving up and going to watch a movie or something instead, because I knew if I got over that hump of, oh, you know what, maybe don't worry about it, I would find the inspiration to move forward again. And it's just challenge after challenge after challenge. But it's the biggest challenge for me was overcoming my own, not laziness. I don't want to say I was lazy, but it was overcoming the challenge of learning again. I was in my early 30s when I decided to learn the whole process. So I hadn't learnt for a long time. But I also found out that learning can be fun and interesting and rewarding. So trying new things and learning and failing and growing from that has been the best part of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think, we talked about us both having kids, obviously. That is literally like being a parent. You got to learn all this new stuff. I joke all the time. I think it was I don't remember which season it was. I was telling Alex, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're out of diapers. Thank God. So it's kind of like that as well. I love like that thought of how you kind of prevailed, and hey, instead of watching a movie, I'm gonna finish this up. That's pretty awesome. But I'm gonna ask the most important question of the entire podcast right now. Obviously, we're a nerdy podcast. So what are either some of your favorite anime or cartoons and some of your video games that are your favorites? Obviously, you know about one, but this is
yes,
the
of course,
hardcore question.
Yeah.
No, I get that. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. Oh, nerdy question. So, for me, favorite anime, favorite video games. So I was lucky enough, and my parents were open enough that when Dragon Ball Z started, first aired in New Zealand, it's where I grew up as a child. They allowed me to watch it, which is, I feel one of the most beneficial things that they ever did for me, because I fell in love with the Japanese way of storytelling, and showcasing art, and it has been with me, 20 something years, 25 years, or longer. I don't even know. I also, on that note, as I was also privy to on Cartoon Network, which I think Dragon Ball Z might have been on also, but when One Piece first came out, I was a big fan of pirates when I was younger. For whatever reason, I can't tell you, but when I heard about this, or when I sat down and I saw this show about a stretchy boy who was a good pirate and he was going to do good things, and he had aspirations to, build this, not just like a friend group, but a family, and go adventure around the world, it really struck a chord in me as well. And it's that has been a big part of my life as well. So from there, I think I caught Initial D, I think was a big one for me, and that actually shaped a big part of my life, the real part of my life, for a good long time. That and Fast and the Furious. I got into, being a mechanic, and working on vehicles and everything, and the Japanese car scene and that culture for a good long time. So Dragon Ball Z, One Piece, Initial D, I think, have been probably the most important anime to me. Game wise, I don't play as many games as I'd like to anymore, other than Wren's Resurgence. I played, hundreds and hundreds of hours of that. And luckily it's still pretty fun to play. But for me, Fallout was huge. And the environmental storytelling, and the gunplay, and the upgrades and everything for me were huge for a long time. I was a big Fallout 3 fan. Loved New Vegas. I was very excited for Fallout 4, and it exceeded my expectations. A lot of people didn't enjoy it. I still feel that's one of my favorite games to have come out in recent history. In terms of my memories of it, I've always been fond of it. That, and I've just started replaying Fallout 76 again.
Oh, nice.
So that's probably why Fallout is top of mind when it comes to favorite games. I've also put a lot of time into the Borderlands franchise.
Okay.
I love that hunt for finding the right weapon, min-maxing that weapon, and the character just the way you want them.
Yep.
And when I had the time, I played whatever I could, whenever I could, to just really expand my idea of, what games could be, and what I enjoyed, and tried to understand what made games popular and why people enjoyed what they did. And so I really got into everything that I could. But now I'm not aware of you guys' favorite games. Now, I know Final Fantasy X was important to you. Is that a favorite, Ben?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, but if we have to look at the game that I have the most hours in, and not including Halo.
Okay, never mind then.
Okay, as you can see, I may like Halo.
Well, are you sad that they're not going to do a third season of that show, or are you more you're ecstatic, you're happy?
The show was back and forth with me. It was kind of weird. It was kind of funny though, because IG ended a story and goes, "Who watched this show?" And I'm raising my hand. I did. It was a weird combination because he walked around a lot of times without his gear on, and that's just not Master Chief,
Yeah, they took some artistic expression that might have kind of veered away from what popular culture saw him as, right?
Yeah.
Master Chief.
Yeah. But the game that I would say is probably my all-time favorite is Ghost of Tsushima. So
Okay.
I platinumed that on PS4, and then I got the PS5 director cut, and instead of transferring my file over, I platinumed it again.
Played it again. Did you? What was the Shadows? What was the multiplayer DLC? Was it the multiplayer DLC for that? That was exquisite.
It was. I don't really like. So I like the DLC. So the DLC was like a whole other island, and it really kind of made the story. And that one was more of, you were trying to leave. I don't want to spoil spoilers, I guess. But you are going to another, and you're shipwrecks, and you find yourself on a different island. But this island is being controlled by Mongolians with special powers. And so that, which if you've not finished the game, don't even attempt it because it's way harder. But they did have some multiplayer. I really couldn't get into the multiplayer. It was really weird.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I think from what I heard is that they put that out for free, and that was a great example of a dev doing something for the community more than just for profit. I think there was a lot of people commended them for that. I love that game as well. I never played the DLC. I never played the other stuff that came out. Was that it wasn't PS5, it was on PS4, wasn't it? Was that 2018? Doesn't matter. I love that game as well.
It might be around then. Yeah.
I know when they did the director's cut, it was transferred over to PS5, but you could take your PS4 copy and they would get you would have the upgrade for it.
Okay.
And I wanted to support, as with everything, I like to support developers and games I like. So I bought the game right out because I wanted to support them doing another one. And Sony, we all know all the Sony executives for them are watching right now. Stop dragging your feet. Give us something. I'm making these comments, and one day I'm going to turn my PS5 on. It's going to be a banned account for life. That's what's going to happen because I call them out all the time. But that was truly the first game. Now with kids, I had to wait until after evening and going to bed. So like you, I would get like maybe an hour here, maybe 30 minutes here, because that is definitely not a game for when my children are around. But just as a parent, just being able to get that time in there. I do want to ask, even though I think I know the answer to this. So, okay, we said ours, Alex. What are yours? But I think I know. I think I'm about 90%.
What my favorite game is?
Game, yeah.
Game. Okay.
I want to see if I'm right.
I don't know, because I mean, see, now I'm put on the spot, and I'm like, games. I don't play games.
Pressure, right?
Yeah. I mean, I really like Final Fantasy VI as behind me. I really like Dot Hack. I really like Celeste. I see, now I'm just drawing a blank with that. I would probably say maybe the first Kingdom Hearts or the final mix of that. Because I play that a lot. But Donkey Kong Country 2, especially. I play that at least once a year. Now I'm just naming games I like. Banjo-Kazooie is another one that I play once a year.
That's what I thought that was going to be.
Yeah.
In my mind, Kingdom Hearts, Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, see, but now Xenoblade's going right up because I finally just started playing the Xenoblade games, and Xenoblade 2, perfection for me. No, it's just so... I mean, yes, it's a bloated game, but it's just so much content,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I kind of want to answer just to give you a little background, Sam, as well, because you talked about cartoons and stuff and anime. For me personally, some of the things that just I really like, there are two things I really like, and one of them is Detective Conan. So Case Closed. I love Detective Conan so much. And with that, which has had crossovers, I really like Lupin the Third. So those two are the two things I collect the most. There's this one company, publisher, distributor called Discotech over here in the States, and they released Lupin the Third on Blu-ray. I own every single American Blu-ray of any Lupin the Third thing that they've released. I have stuff on pre-order that's supposed to be here like next week. I have not watched them all, but I've been like going through them slowly because like, yes, not everyone is great, but I love just the cast. It's kind of like with you, like One Piece or whatever. Like the cast is great. It's clearly like a family type thing. I mean, yes, this is more of like thieves doing thieves things, but like everyone has a certain dynamic, and I really like seeing that dynamic play out, even if it is kind of the same each time. It's always just a joy to see that. And like I've been getting the older stuff lately, like Urusei Yatsura, or Rama One Half recently got they're talking about getting a new one of that, so I'm really excited for that. Just Rumiko Takahashi stuff. And with that, seeing all like the yokai and stuff in your game, I was like, I immediately think of like Inuyasha. I'm like, yes, I love yokai. And so that was definitely one that I thought of immediately.
Of course, man. There's so many great examples of yokai being in popular culture. Unfortunately, one of them is Yokai Watch, which is it certainly made it a lot harder to research the awful monsters and ghosts that do make up a lot of the fables of of that side of things in Japan. But also some really great examples of making terrifying things family friendly. So and a lot of them in my game do they are a little bit scary depending on the situation when you come across them. But I didn't want to convey horror. I think the actions of my ones are probably the scarier things, especially when they start trying to chase you down.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, kind of the final question here. I mean, we had the most important question. This question is equally important, honestly. You kind of answered some of this in different questions here, but being a new game developer, having your first game come out, what advice would you give to other aspiring indie game developers working on their first project?
I think the most important thing is to fail, and to fail often, and to learn and to grow from that, and just to get back on the horse and just continue trying, because it's the only way anything is going to happen. Surround yourself with a good community if you can. Get people that are willing to help, and to even just to talk to you about what you're up to and what you're doing. And there's so much advice out there. The big thing is just to keep going. I need to keep going because there is so much to learn. It is mind-boggling thinking about the hours spent trying to figure out how just to do the simplest thing. Looking back at it, it's like, well, not that I wasted years, but because that is all knowledge, and it's all part of growing and understanding. It is just, it's going to take time, and I am going to continue to learn, I think, probably forever. Things can always be improved. And just to keep going. I think that's the most important thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's, not to with anything, but when Alex and I started this, we would spend 2 or 3 hours trying to record doing this podcast. And so we hit our 4th year, we hit our 200th episode, and now we're talking to people like you, and I just think that is like the best thing for anyone, is just to keep going, put yourself with positive people. I think that is spot on, and with anything you do. So that is awesome.
Yeah. I have to ask, Alex, did you end up fixing your keyboard? I believe you had a Pepsi mishap.
Yes, I ended up my family doesn't live in my state, and so they visited a couple weeks ago, and so I we were traveling around different cities and stuff, and near the capital of our state that we live in, there's a place called Micro Center, and so it's like a big computer store, like very just massive, and you can test out, like they have keyboards out there that you can just like feel, like the clickety clackities, and and so I just kept looking at them, and then eventually I just, I don't know if you can hear on the thing, but like I found like a nice clickety clackety keyboard that I really love. It has a magnetic a wrist thing here that just like connects to it.
Yeah, nice.
And it's a Razer keyboards, and I also just got a mouse with it too to pair with it, because I was like, why not? Might as well spend, like, I use this keyboard for work as well, and so just because I'm using this daily, I thought, well, I should probably splurge a little bit on something that can last, and hopefully I won't spill Pepsi on it again. But we'll see. I did get a warranty this time.
Look at that.
I paid for an extra warranty through the store as well, and they're like, do you want a warranty? I'm like, yes, because I accidentally spilled Pepsi on my last one, and the clerk there was like, why'd you do that, man? Why'd you do that? It's like, I'm sorry.
We didn't do it on purpose.
That was a night when we tried to record, and I had no keyboard connected to my computer. Like, thankfully I was still on the computer, so the mouse was still there. So I unplugged the keyboard, had it out there like in like the kitchen, and like put all the keys in like a soapy container and just like tried to save it. And when we were recording, I was like, good, we're still here, and the mouse still works. So I'm going to use the mouse and get the Microsoft virtual keyboard up. So I was typing by clicking on each letter. And then eventually, I got a new keyboard. So yes, thank you.
That's awesome.
I got a nice keyboard, and it's a lot nicer than my old one too. I still have the old one back here. I need to throw it away.
I would be crying because when I had a nice keyboard, and then I decided to upgrade to the Razer Halo one, and so it's like an all metal one here. And I was telling my God, if I did that, I would cry because they don't make these anymore. Obviously, no one watched the show, so now they're all done. So yeah, I would have been very upset.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for your concern. But yes,
hey, no, I got you, man.
Yeah,
gotcha. I know it's important.
Yeah, it definitely is. But alrighty, well, this has been an episode of the Get At Gaming Plus podcast, where thank you again, Sam, for being here with us.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate you being here today. If anyone's new here, consider hitting that follow button or subscribe wherever you're at, and find us on youtube.com/getagaming, where you can watch the videos as well as see some exclusive content on there. If you think that I'm ugly and you just don't want to see me, you don't want to see this face here, then you can just go to the audio version instead. You don't have to see this face at all. You can just listen to my voice, and hopefully you like my voice. If not, then I guess you just don't listen to the product at all. But yeah, you can go ahead and go to Spotify. You can go to Pandora. You can go to iTunes. You can go anywhere that your heart desires to find us, and we're probably there at Get At Gaming. We are also on a lot of different social media. We're on formerly Twitter, X. We're on Facebook. I think we technically have an Instagram. We technically have a TikTok. We technically have all these other things, but we mostly use the Facebook, I would say. But yeah, again, thank you so much, Sam, for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up really quick just before we end it here?
No, not really, guys. I think this has been great. I think we've covered off a good basis of the game. The only other thing I would recommend to people, if you can't find the link that Alex had been put down in the description, that you can check out Wren's Resurgence on Steam. WRENSRESURGENCE, Wren's Resurgence. Same, you can check us out on Facebook, on X, Twitter, whatever you wanted to, however you want to refer to it.
Yeah.
You can find us on there. But yeah, Steam is the big one. All the details are on there. You can wishlist it. You can follow along. It's all very exciting.
We'll also add
Q4.
We're also going to add links on our social media as well, so you guys can get that on your Steam, get that on your wish list.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Alrighty. Well, I guess we didn't prep you for this, Sam. But maybe you know, maybe you don't. However, we always end the episode, we say get at it. I'll say, like, is there any last thing? And then you just say, just get at it. And then we all say get at it at the end. So, Ben, Beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to say for the episode?
Just to get at it.
Get at it.
Get at it.